This episode is brought to you by Indie Film Hustle Academy, where filmmakers and screenwriters go to learn from top Hollywood industry professionals. Learn more at ifhacademy.com. But you're one of those artists, one of those filmmakers that you just need to tell your story and trust that you're going to go where you are. And with The Crow, did you have a fair good amount of creative control over that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was very lucky to a certain point, which is why I was so blindsided when I did iRobot.
Right,
They left me alone on everything, and you know, this came out of a career of commercials, where I'd achieved success in advertising and music videos, where they also left me alone. So, hell, I just thought that's what a director got. You know, I thought they just give you this film, and sometimes they don't give you a good enough budget, but they just bugger off and let you do your thing. You know, and I'd made 4 features. Four. I'd made 4 features under those auspices, and before I'd made iRobot, and so suddenly I was in with the big boys, right? Suddenly I had a huge budget, which
big
is
movie star.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, you know. I mean, you get all these great toys to play with and stuff, but then I start, you know, and I also had the misfortune, I think, of working with one of the worst studio regimes at the time, in terms of micromanagement, right? And so suddenly I had multiple people from the studio breathing down my neck at every stage. And actually, the weirdest thing is they cost the production money, because I want to move ahead with a certain thing, like building a car, for example, for the hero to drive in. We were designing and, you know, wanting to build a car, and they're basically just holding us back to the point where it just became so expensive and actually became impossible. And then we had to go elsewhere to get this car made in time, you know, just stuff like that. And I just found that just utterly infuriating, that I was being constantly challenged creatively, and having to constantly challenge the studio on a budgetary level, actually to save the film money, you know, which I just thought was just absolutely insane, you know, because I'm a very responsible guy. I'm a working class guy. I grew up in a pretty poor situation, and, you know, and working class in Australia means kind of, you know, poverty line almost, you know. So I'm not, I take money very seriously. I don't waste it. And I like to make sure that it all ends up on the screen, whatever amount of money I've got, you know. So having a studio that were taking these stupid decisions that would cost the production money, I just got, you know, I saw it as a personal affront. I'm going, well, this is more money that my movie has to make for these guys in order to be proved a success, you know. But yeah, it was a whole different world, and it was definitely not a good experience on any level. So I warn people that it is a dangerous double-edged sword. It's a very ego gratifying. You have all the big toys, but you get your hands get. I described it as you're running a marathon, which is what you do on any movie, big or small budget. But in this case, the marathon is all the studio execs line up on either side of the road, and they throw chairs under you as you're running.
Wow.
That's kind of the additional part of a big budget movie, you know. And because it is about, you know, you're right. I have a specific vision and a specific way of doing things, and that's what I like to do. And I like to make movies that couldn't be done by anyone other than me, you know. And it's not ego, because I just happen to see things in a certain way, and I want to do things that feel unique, you know. So often I'll avoid a particular storyline or a plot or a this or a that or a visual, because I've seen it done by other people, and I'll try and do it in a different way, a unique way. So it's sort of an experimental approach, but it gets more refined as I know more through the years. But that to me is kind of what I bring to the show. So when they're second guessing me and telling me to do my job, I feel like, well, why am I even here? You know, what is it? Why do you want me to do it? Surely you want someone who's more bendable to your will as a studio executive, you know, who will give you exactly what others can give you or exactly what you want, which is even the more funding concept, because often they don't know what they want, and that's partly why I haven't done a lot of, after iRobot, I didn't do a lot of, I haven't done any big Hollywood studio movies. Gods of Egypt was a big budget movie, but it was a huge indie movie. That's the way they put the financing together. But again, even that was, from a creative point of view, was really arduous and it became clear to me that beyond a certain budget is not a playground that I should be playing in, really, because it's an absolute kind of correlation between how high the budget is and how much fear that the studio executives have. And fear is not a good way to create. It really isn't, you don't want fear. You've got to be fearless in the way you create. The best acting comes out of fearlessness, out of being brave and doing and going where you feel creatively is necessary. And it's the same with a director, with a filmmaker, is you've got to be brave, and you can't be brave when every other fucker on the boat around you is like, we're going to drown, we're going to die. You can't, eventually your bravery gets whittled down if you're the only guy saying, no, we'll make it. We're going to be okay, guys. We're going to make it. So anyway, that's as best as I can describe.
So, I mean, you were working with one of the biggest movie stars of the world at the time, Will Smith, as well. And was it fun working with Will?
Yeah, Will's an absolute wonderful person, and we had a great time. And honestly, if Will hadn't been on that film, and I'd had someone who was less enjoyable to be making a film with, I may have actually walked off that film. That's how far they pushed me during the production. But Will made, would often make my day, and to the point where he'd make me laugh so much sometimes I'd have to say, just please stop, Will, because I can't focus on the video screen. He's terrific.
Yeah, and I forgot the actor who played the robot. Oh God, what was his name? He was in
Alan Tudyk.
Oh my God, what an amazing performance! I think that was the first time people were starting to have a conversation about nominating actors for their performances.
Alan's great. He's done a few other robots, I think, since.
No, he
turned up as
some
Star
mocap
Wars robot for something.
He's done some mocap.
This was very early days. I mean, Gollum had been around for one movie, early Gollum, but it was also early days for this kind of performance capture technology, and it was kind of I have an amusing story to tell about Alan. We were this is after the shoot. We were working out of Digital Domain that's in Venice, in Los Angeles, and I'd be working with them as they're animating Alan's character Sonny, and I would go for a walk down at the beach occasionally just to get some fresh air and get out of a dark room, which is what you spend your life in, And I bump into Alan, and turns out Alan lives down there, and I go, hey, come and have a look at what we're doing, come and have a look at this incredible footage that we're making with your character, and he was really excited. He came along, and we walked into the theater there at Digital Domain and sit down next to each other, and they start running shots from the film, the fully realized robot. Alan's like, this is amazing. It looks fucking amazing. It's great, whatever. So then he's still there when we then go into the next part of our what we're doing, which is where I guide the animators in terms of recreating Alan's performance to the CG animation. And in those days, this is before we had facial capture, actually kind of keyframe animation. The way they did that is they'd look at Alan's performance that we filmed, and then they'd reproduce it with the Sonny robot, right? So what that meant is they would put it up on the big screen. One side would be a bit like our podcast right now. One side is Alan, and the other side is the crude version of the robot that they're animating in the middle of animation. And we'd literally look at every frame, and they'd show me the shot, and I'd go, great, or I'd go, you know what, on frame 13, I think he raises his eyebrow just a tiny bit more, and there's a little twitch in his nose, gives a little bit of vulnerability or whatever. And we look at it over and over again, and they go, and the animation director goes, you're right, there is a twitch in his left nostril for about 3 frames, from frame 13 to frame 16. And after we're doing this for like about 10 minutes, Alan taps me on the shoulder and says, I've got to go. I go, okay, well, thanks for coming. He goes, yeah, I'm sorry, I got to go, but this is insane. I'm going nuts. This is going to destroy my acting for all time. The fact that someone is sitting here, all these guys are sitting here looking at my performance like a frame at a time and studying my nostril. I just can't take it. I'm sorry here, So I think I ruined Alan's acting forevermore.
I mean, it's true, but it's true. I mean, actors are actors are actors, and if you're telling them, they're like, oh, we're going to analyze every frame of your nostril before a shot, forget it. They'll never be able to get up. Like, it's just tough enough to be an actor, let alone being that kind of scrutiny.
Exactly.
That's amazing.